Hello, welcome. When the smoke clears, I am the Recovery Plug. How's it going, everybody? Well, thank you for tuning into my podcast today. You know how I like to get my videos always started with a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. So, if you would, a moment of silence, please. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty. Well, let's get started. Well, I'm gonna talk to you, I guess, today. I'm gonna do a little bit of reading, like I do occasionally in my podcast videos. I like every now and then read a chapter of a particular book that I'm, reading, and this book here is the book that I'm reading now, and I read a chapter or two of it the other day, and we're gonna do it again, and it's The Way of Serenity. By Father Jonathan Morris. Yeah. Okay. Well, I had to take these off because I can't see. It's dark. But okay. Yeah. So this book has been a pretty good book so far. It is. You know what this book is doing? It's breaking down the Serenity Prayer in just details, man. It is detailing it on the Serenity Prayer, what the Serenity Prayer is about, how it manifests in your life, and how it manifests in the things that you think and the actions of your life, and whatever your struggle is, it applies it. So, it's got a few stories of different people and how the Serenity Prayer worked out in their story. And, you know, um, being an addict and being recovered and being in different types of meetings in my recovery, I do peer support groups, I do NA meetings, I do AA meetings, I do different types of things because I get different stories. I get different stories, but it's the same conviction in the stories of everybody who shares. When they have a spiritual awakening, when they have a change in their lives, because it could be any change. If you're in a peer support group, if you're in a meeting, well, then that, man, my friends, is the spiritual reality that something lit up here and made you go and sit there and you know to listen to you're not there just because you just walked down the street and you wound up there. No, you're there because you subconsciously decided that you needed change. Subconsciously, you decided that I'm in a place right now that I need to move forward, and by going to a meeting, it's allowing me to do that because the Serenity Prayer is just that. It's a calling. It's a calling that you're calling a spiritual being to existence to help you understand and know the difference between the two realms of addiction and recovery. And it's an awesome prayer. And you know it it's a it's funny because when you do the actual prayer that God says is the Our Father prayer. When they're up in the mountain and they say, this is the prayer that we're going to pray up here on this mountain to God, and it's Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. It tells you right there in that verse that it's not telling you, God, give us this day our daily bread. or God give us. It's not telling you that give us the all the bread for the whole month. It's not give God give me this bread for the rest of the year. Give me this bread for the 45 days I'm in treatment. Give me the bread for the 2 years that I'm incarcerated. No, it's not saying that. It's saying, give me this day the daily bread. And just like in the meetings that we go to in Alcoholics Anonymous, in Narcotics Anonymous, in peer support groups that have to do with any type of addictive behavior, it's God, give me the bread for today. Just for today. That's all I need. I don't need next week's bread. I don't need the bread that I need, for 6 months from now. No. I need today's bread so that I can stay clean and sober today, so that I can be free of anger today, so that I can be free of anxiety today, just today. And tomorrow we'll deal with tomorrow, But for today, God, I need that bread for today, so that I'm not blown off the handle, so that I'm not sitting here with this anxiety, so I'm not sitting here depressed today, God. Give me that daily bread so that I can be happy, so that I can be faithful, so that I can be spiritually connected, so I can be just connected with myself, so that I can help myself first, God, so that in turn there I can help somebody else. And it's an amazing book, but I'm gonna read some of this book to you, and we'll go over a little bit of what I read, and this is let me put these glasses on first, because I can't read anything without these, right? So this is the chapter 9 in this book of The Way of Serenity by Father Jonathan Morris. And chapter 9 is titled, Climb a Mountain, Then Look Again. It says, one of cinema's most memorable portrayals of all time is Julie Andrews' stunning performance as Maria von Trapp in the classic 1965 musical The Sound of Music. And in any scene from this film deserves the title iconic. It is Maria's whirling about in the Austrian Alps singing. The hills are alive and the sound of music high above dolly drums of daily existence in the valley shadows, in the valley below. Maria found freedom in the open, cool air of the mountains. In those hills she found liberty and transcended and gained a new perspective on her day-to-day life. When you look down from the heights, literally or figuratively, we can see things that escape us in our day-to-day hustle. To keep our heads above water, it keeps us in perspective, and perspective helps us find serenity even at times when circumstances may be unchangeable and less than ideal. And that is so, let's pause there for a minute. You tend to not pay attention to the things when you're in that day-to-day hustle, you know what I mean? When you're living your day after day, and you're stuck in that darkness, it's you're not worried about anything. You're worried only about the addiction. And when you can get to the top of the mountain and look down, and when you get back and you see what's going on around you in your life, when you put your head up and when you take those blinders off, and when you start getting connected into your recovery community, stay connected into your faith-based community, then you slowly but surely start seeing things that you've missed. And I like to call it, the smoke starts clearing for you a little bit. You know what I mean? The more you engage, the more that smoke starts disappearing. And okay, so let's go on. As long as we are caught up in the day-to-day life, Life can seem like an unending stream of hearing the baby cry, fixing the broken radiator, going to work, coming home from work, driving the kids to soccer, not getting enough sleep, wondering why our spouses seem not to love us as before, and so on. The apartment meaningless of our daily occupations is one of the most suffocating of prisons. Like a factory worker whose sole task is to put the same nut on the same bolt thousands of times a day, we can feel that every day is the same even as our days are running out. It is an exaggeration to say that everything is a matter of perspective, but it is true that most events and circumstances in our lives can be viewed in different ways. And often a change of perspective radically alters our evaluation of things. One of the most important tools we have for gaining a new and more objective perspective is distance. The old adage about not being able to see the forest for the trees is very apt for most of us. We are so immersed in our own troubles that we can't see nothing else. Our difficulties are so evident that our they conceal our blessings. When we back away from those troubles, however, we begin to gain a more balanced view of them. I experienced this in a profound way when I requested from superiors of my former religious order a 6-month leave of absence in order to work in a parish in New York City, and discern whether God was calling me to make a major vocational change in my life from a religious order missionary work to the diocese priesthood local parish. Upon arriving in New York, I knew almost immediately that I should transition out of the religious order. I didn't expect such clarity. It was if scales fell from my eyes, and I could see things I never saw before. During the many years I had been apart from this religious order, the legionaries of Christ, I had been unable to see. I had not wanted to see the obvious dysfunction and mind manipulation that was present at many levels of the organization. False assumptions I had held for many years quickly fell apart. Healthier ways of approaching the same spiritual goals I'd always had become instantly evident. I was able to recognize some of the rash judgments I had made of people and other institutions and begin to see them more as Jesus sees them, and when appropriate, to ask for forgiveness. Not all of this new light streamed into my mind and heart overnight, but a great deal of it did. That was a miracle. That was God doing what I could never do. All I needed was a much new perch, a new mountain from which to look down and see the obvious. But to go there, I need to climb that mountain. You know, that what we just went over there in that chapter. It's not that's part of the chapter, but that is so true because when you're in your daily bustle and you're whether it's your 9 to 5 job or your family, your kids, the addiction, whatever it may be, you tend to just you're doing that. You're running around like this. You know what I mean? Just what here, and you don't see anything else. But when you take time, and like it says, you might need to find another mountain to take the look at it. In other words, to me, that is saying that you might need to change where you're at today to see where you're going to be at tomorrow. And it's for me, in my addiction, I finally one day just said, you know what, I just cried out, and I was like, God, find me another mountain. Find me another mountain so that I can see where my life is going to be going. Because right now, God, I'm at the forest right now, and I got all these trees in front of me, and I can't see past that forest. I can't see past my addiction right now. I can't see past me staying in that motel. I can't see past me living in that tent. I can't see me past picking up that bolo every single day and using it. I can't see past that right now. God, please remove me from this forest and put me on that mountaintop so that I could see my life in a different perspective, because right now I don't see nothing but darkness. And that's a powerful little part of the chapter there. And that's just my interpretation. Whether Father Jonathan Morris was interpreting it that way, I have no idea, because he's the one who wrote this. But when I read this, when I read the words that he put down on this paper, that's what I gathered that he's saying. Okay, so let's move on. It says, I should add that from this new place of reflection, I was able to see not only what was wrong with my prior circumstances, but also the tremendous good that was there, especially the wonderful people who surrounded me. You will notice that Jesus often went off to the mountaintop or the desert to pray. He put physical distance between himself and the day-to-day occupations of his public ministry in order to talk with his Father and regain a clear vision of what he was about. In a desert, the starkness of the surroundings and the absence of many comforts force us to engage with what is most essential. On the mountaintop, the cares of our daily lives shook very small and insignificant, and we gain a perspective on their place in a much broader scheme of things. We also gain the serenity to accept the things that we cannot change. As Christians, we are called to have a sacramental view of reality, meaning that behind our day-to-day lives is a deeper reality. The circumstances of our lives point us beyond themselves to spiritual truths and reveal a handiwork of God. This is true not only of extraordinary events like baptism, but also the most humdrum daily activities of our lives. God is at work not only on the altar and in the operating room, but also, as Saint Teresa of Avila would say, amongst the pots of pans. He is to be found everywhere, active and eager for us to find him. He is active among the pots and pans, and he is surely also active in the classroom, in the nursery, in the office, in the car, in the boardroom, in the kitchen, on the sports channel, on the sports field. He wants us to open our eyes of faith to discover him, to live in his presence. It's hard for modern men and women to escape the mountains to regain perspective, but we can find little substitute mountains that allow us to the distance we need. The most important of these in daily prayer, 15 minutes in God's presence, can be the difference between seeing nothing but grief and grayness in our day and seeing the light of God's abundant mercies. Being with God is being in heaven. From there, the meaning of everything else grows clearer. In a way, life's hills are alive with the sound of music, the music of God's loving activity. In the divine context and visions, in this embrace of God's vision, it is easier to imagine accepting serene those difficult things we cannot change. Goes on to say, Heavenly Father, you know I am caught up in many things. You know all that I have on my mind and how distracted I am from the spiritual world. Today, accompany me all the way that I might see as you see, judge as you judge, and love as you love. Man, that's a cool chapter, man. That chapter really, I could see a lot of my life and my life in addiction and my life transforming from addiction to recovery in that chapter. And yeah, because it's not until you change, like when I change now, I see and I can reflect on the things and kind of go over the 5 years that I was in when I had my relapse, and I stayed relapsed for 5 years, and I could see everything that I did and the people that I engaged with, and my mental capacity and the mental things that I was going through and how my mind was working at the time, and how that, you know, in turn, the actions that I did on the daily basis reflected what I was thinking, and it's insane. Addiction is insanity, and it's insane to do something on a repetitive basis that you know is killing you. I mean, how insane is that? It's like, I mean, you're taking a spoonful of poison every morning, in a sense, and you're waiting, you're waiting for the actions of whatever that result is going to be from that negative action that you just performed, right? So, when I'm reading that chapter and knowing that when I ask God to change me to look at my life from another mountain so that I can see it in a different perspective and in a different view, then now I see, okay, gosh, man, I understand now. Even though I've gone through 12-step programs before, even though I've gone through treatment centers before, but this time, every single time that I've gone back into the recovery community, into my faith-based community, I add a little bit more to my recovery arsenal, something that I've learned that I forgot, that I didn't put into action, the previous times, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful that I'm able to do that today, because, um, being stuck in that forest where you can't see anything but darkness, you know what I mean? You can't see nothing but darkness in front of you. It's hard to motivate yourself to believe that there's something on the other side, and not until you know understand that you're not in it by yourself. That the spirituality, the spiritual being within you, that's always been there. You just have to concentrate and get it out. You have to ask for help. You have to be ready to surrender, and to know that when you do, that there's going to be something better on the other side. That there's going to be, you're going to be able. There's always going to be something that's going to keep you motivated. It's going to keep you going, and because a lot of the times, man, when I got back into recovery this time around, I was like really kind of skeptical in a sense, because I kind of didn't know how I was going to move forward, because number one, I had no job, I didn't have a house, I didn't have a car, I was homeless, drug addict. Now how am I going to do it? You know what I mean? And me being I've got a bachelor's degree in project management, and a lot of the things that I do, I look at it in that perspective of, okay, how am I going to manage this project here? You know what I mean? Because I was a hell of a project manager. I was. I mean, I did, $1 million jobs, and had, 10, 15 people under me, and I had a business, and the whole 9 yards, right? So I had a successful business. But, when I got when I allowed myself to get back into the addiction, I wasn't managing shit anymore. My project management days were limited, and it was then that the drug, the evilness, the darkness, whatever you want to call it, started managing, and I had no control after that. You know what I mean? So I start doing things that, my manageability came to a point to where I started doing things that, on the daily basis, that were, ultimately, killing you. You know what I mean? The things that I was doing on the daily basis had potential of ending my life every single day. But did I care? Nope. Did I stop? Nope. I kept on going. And that is the cunning and baffling and scary part of the addiction, is that, a lot of people don't make it out. You know what I mean? I've had friends and people that I know who never made it out, who, this past, I guess in the past 2 months, I've had three people that I know personally that, died of drug overdoses, and it's not, they didn't think, they thought that they were gonna, it's gonna be just another day in the darkness, another day getting high, and you know they're putting, bad stuff in the drugs. Now, not that the drugs are good, but they're putting worse things in it to, have more fatalities, and that the fentanyl, epidemic is just terrible. So that's why they passed away. And but I'm just grateful that I was able to finally come, to, I don't know why I was chosen. I don't know. I have no idea. Those are the things, like it says, you know, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. And, I'm understanding that a whole lot more, because how was I going to know that, I have no idea that I was going to be here. I have no idea that I was going to, be doing, these types of podcasts, I had no idea that was going to be, in my existence. But it is, and I'm grateful for it, that I'm able to share, and that I'm not in that darkness. You know what I mean? I'm been able to restart recovering things that I've lost in while I was in addiction, and you know, this is one of them. One of them is recovering my spirituality, recovering myself, recovering my relationship with the God of my understanding. And that, to me, is the key to me staying recovered, is understanding the God of my understanding, that, if I just let him take care of the things that I got no control over, and the things that I can't change, but allowing me to have the wisdom to know the difference, that's amazing. And yeah, so I guess that's it for today. Thank you for letting me read that chapter to you. At this time, I'd like to just encourage you to please give me a thumbs up, maybe leave me a comment, share my channel, maybe just tap that subscribe button, and know that when you do that, when you do subscribe to my channel, that you'll be helping out another homeless person, another veteran, out there who's homeless and who's addicted to drugs, and just anybody who's struggling through addiction, through any neurological brain disorder in the form of childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome, childhood traumatic experiences, any, type of neurological brain disease, and, anybody struggling with depression, with loneliness, with anger, with anxieties. You'll be helping people like that by subscribing to my channel. And so yeah, if you would, all you gotta do is tap that button. Doesn't cost you a thing. And I'm grateful if you do. And please share my channel, give me a thumbs up. And I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.